So last night was the Democrats' ninth debate in Las Vegas, and it just so happened to be Mayor Michael Bloomberg's first debate that he was able to buy himself a ticket to. I very much believe that he's regretting that decision at this very moment because he was destroyed. He was utterly annihilated on that debate stage from the very first question all the way up until the very last question. Candidates were taking shots at him left and right, and it was just kind of cringe to see him defend himself on the records. I even felt bad at him at some points, but then I remembered the whole stop and frisk thing and ruining kids' lives and all the lawsuits against him, and I felt a little bit better about it. So this clip in particular has to do with him defending his record about the NDAs with the sexual harassment suits against him. And Elizabeth Warren utterly destroys him with her questioning of the NDAs that he's holding these women to. So let's take a look at this clip and then let's discuss some more.
Senator Warren, you've been critical of Mayor Bloomberg on this issue.
Yes, I have. And I hope you heard what his defense was. I've been nice to some women. That just doesn't cut it. The mayor has to stand on his record, and what we need to know is exactly what's lurking out there. He has gotten some number of women, dozens, who knows, to sign non-disclosure agreements, both for sexual harassment and for gender discrimination in the workplace. So, Mr. Mayor, are you willing to release all of those women from those non-disclosure agreements so we can hear their side of the story?
We have a very few non-disclosure agreements.
How many is that?
Let me finish.
How many is that?
None of them accuse me of doing anything other than maybe they didn't like the joke I told. And let me just put, there's agreements between two parties that wanted to keep it quiet, and that's up to them. They signed those agreements, and we'll live with it.
So wait, when you say it is up to, I just want to be clear. Some is how many? And when you say they signed them and they wanted them, if they wish now to speak out and tell their side of the story about what it is they allege, that's now okay with you? You're releasing them on television tonight?
Senator? No.
Is that right?
Senator?
Tonight?
Senator, the company and somebody else, in this case, a man or a woman, or could be more than that, they decided when they made an agreement that they wanted to keep it quiet for everybody's interest. They signed the agreements, and that's what we're going to live with.
I'm sorry. No, the question is, are the women bound by being muzzled by you? And you could release them from that immediately. Because understand, this is not just a question of the mayor's character. This is also a question about electability. We are not going to beat Donald Trump with a man who has who knows how many non-disclosure agreements and the drip, drip, drip of stories of women saying they have been harassed and discriminated against. That's not what we do as Democrats.
That clip was devastating. It was like watching a deer caught in the headlights, seeing Michael try to answer that question. So the fact of the matter is he does have a ton of NDAs with people who have claimed sexual harassment against him. And Liz is right there. She's spot on. At any moment, he can end those NDAs, those non-disclosure agreements, so these women can feel free to speak up with the stories that they have to tell, their side of the story. He has the power to do that, but he doesn't want to do that. He doesn't want to do that. He says, you know, we made an agreement and we're going to stick to it. The fact of the matter is, when you throw money around like that, like I'm sure he did with these NDAs, that's enough to make someone not want to talk about this story anymore. You know, settling out of court, doing an NDA and saying, here's some money, you can't ever talk about this ever again, though, would be enough for any person to not talk about this thing anymore. So he would be able to end the non-disclosure agreements and allow these women to speak up. But if they did speak up, this would probably destroy his career with what they have to say about this whole this whole arbitration and like everything that's happened between themselves and Michael Bloomberg as an employer. So he was really hammered on this issue. And I think just looking at his performance in the debate as a whole, I think he's going to drop severely in the polls. He's currently polling, I think, second or third nationally when you look at the RCP average. I think he's going to drop significantly. He came off as pretty unprepared in the debate as a whole, and especially for this question. And props to Liz Warren for holding his feet to the fire there. In the past debates, there have been candidates who have taken to asking a candidate a direct question, like, is this something that you will do? Like, we saw this with Kamala Harris asking Liz Warren if she'll take a stand on the whole banning Donald Trump from Twitter. We also saw this with Tulsi Gabbard and I forget whoever else, but typically in the past debates, at least this election cycle, when candidates have spoken directly to another candidate and asked them a question, it usually doesn't work out for the person asking the question. Here, it had devastating effects. Bloomberg did not even know how many lawsuits he had against him, or he did and he didn't want to mention it because it would look so bad. It was cringe to sum it up in one word. So props to Liz Warren for holding his feet to the fire and for standing up for all of these people who don't really have a voice and I'm sure would probably love to be released from this non-disclosure agreement so they could tell their sides of the story.